would be bad.
So the basement has a whole bunch of tools in these little gray
Yeah.
shelves. That's what I'm trying to get clarification in those.
There's a lot of things that people simply don't want anymore. And people my age and older have what they want and aren't necessarily collecting anymore. And younger people, certainly people of your age and even older, 30s and 40s, but certainly 20s, largely they don't want it. There's lots of reasons potentially why this business has declined, but in my estimation, the biggest reason is lack of demand. The demand simply isn't there.
Call if you have another question or a concern.
No, I paid the guy for the beater jar and he gave me a quarter change. Oh, I'd love to. Yeah, no worries, but I mean, I sure didn't steal the beater jar. Yeah, I mean, think about it. I mean, I'm not out taking people's piles. I seen a beater jar there. I give the guy $1 for it. He gives me a quarter change. I buy a bottle and a beater jar. You know, it's not like I'm out stealing beater jars. Hello? Kevin again. So I bring the jar back to you or I bring it back to him? What do you want me to do with the jar here? No, I ain't keeping it. I don't. I bring the jar to you. You're at the pharmacy? Okay, and then I'll just drive back there and make sure that they don't think that I walked off with the jar without paying. But I paid the guy. I didn't pay the lady. I paid the lady. No worries. No worries. It happens. Well, we drive around the city looking for treasures, antiques, junk, art goods, anything that we can find. Today we found this small beater jar. It's glass and metal. You would whip it, put milk in there or cream, whip it and make some cream. We paid 75 cents for it at a sale. It was in another lady's pile and she accused me of pile grabbing, pile shifting, or blatant term is stealing. Now we're going back to the sale to get our 75 cents back that we paid for this beater jar, and we will have to give it to her because we have ethics built into our business culture here as far as being fair to one another. I didn't know it was in a sold pile. I just seen it on a table. And so she called me up, and actually she called another person up and accused me of stealing her beater jar. She didn't pay for it. Yeah, that's fine. Whenever. Just call me. No worries. Call me later. Yeah, we'll get it this afternoon sometime. Bye-bye. Lady did not pay for the beater jar. It was just in her pile, and I made one of the sins in the business called pile grabbing or into somebody's pile, but I didn't know it was her pile. So everybody in the business knows that if you got a pile, you're not supposed to poach the other person's pile. So I do feel a little bad about it, but I didn't know it was her pile. She's gonna get the beater jar back and everybody will be happy. I'll tell you, it's just a happy world out there.
Hi.
Hi.
We'll let 20 in. I think all of you will come in at first.
I got 19.
All right. Oh, you did not need to take your shoes off.
Do we?
No, thank you. Just wipe your feet, please. Thank you.
Thank you.
It's this floor in the basement and the garage, okay?
Ruthie. I don't know how much she is.
She's talking with somebody.
Okay. Let's go. We got some women's dresses here. Kevin, nice call. I saw that.
You gotta write down the check or otherwise you forget.
Yeah, y'all.
My name's Kevin Holmgren, and I'm 52. And I've been in the antique business, junk business, auction business, estate sale business for about 32 years now. I had 28 real fun years in this business. The last 4 years have been a little bit of a struggle. Expenses are rounding us down. Cell phones, insurance, gas, the etc. I mean, we're all looking for that nugget in the river. When the miners in 1848, 1849 went to California, they all wanted that golf ball sized nugget of gold, you know? They'd come back to their pan and they'd have specks in it. Every one of us wake up in the morning looking for that golf ball sized nugget of gold. Is it out there? Yeah, but not as much as it used to be.
It kind of saddens me when I see old pictures of families. Like, I could never get rid of that stuff, and people are just selling their histories, and it's kind of sad sometimes.
I went to a sale, an old estate sale in St. Paul yesterday, and it sounded great. So I made the effort. I got up at 4, I got there at 4:45, and sat in my car for 4 or 5 hours.
Tell us about the night before, though. The real story was...
The real story.
Okay, so I'm laying in bed, tossing and turning. The sun's coming up. It's like 5:15, 5:30. I'm waiting for Ron to call me. Doesn't call me. I figured he probably just slept in. 6:30, the guy calls me. He's in his truck. He tells me he's hunkered down, and he just made this huge score. He was in the dumpster for about, what?
An hour and a half.
Hour and a half.
In the dumpster.
He was in a dumpster.
Sometimes out in front of the house or in the driveway there'll be a dumpster with all the crap that they don't want. They're just throwing it away. They're not going to sell it. We're scavengers at heart. We go through alleys, curbs, and dumpsters. So it's 5:15 in the morning. What am I going to do? I can sit in my car or I can go in the dumpster. So I went in the dumpster for an hour and a half. And
Foraging?
Foraging, yeah.
Yeah.
Sale started, I went in the house, and as I walk in, the guy's looked at him, he goes, "You got some great stuff out of there." Well, of course, he doesn't know what great stuff is. He's just mad because I got some stuff. So I make a pile of stuff in the house, and I make a pile of stuff outside the house that's in the garage. One of the things that's in my pile that I abandoned temporarily, he takes. And I come back, he goes, "I don't want you to have this. You're not taking this." I don't make a fuss at all because it's a $10 or $20 item.
Right.
I've already got the other stuff.
Right.
And then another friend shortly thereafter says to me, "Ron, you've got to get the fuck out of there." He's thinking about calling the police. So I bail.
Time to leave.
Yeah, I know it.
I mean, I hustle, I get the stuff in the truck, I turn the key and I go. You know, I feel like I've done something wrong. I don't think I have. Have I done anything wrong, Kevin?
You know, what you've done wrong is be an American in America. And that's
Exactly.
all we can do in this world. We're just trying to make a living
Right.
out here. And some people say, hey, is dying a living? This is what we're doing. We're dying, paying $4 of gas, chasing this stuff 100 miles every day. Finally, we find a dumpster that we can forage and dig and rubbish in.
Right.
This was trash before he's seen you. Now, all of a sudden, he sees you.
And he wants it. He wants
He's
it.
emotionally attached to an army jacket from 48 years ago that he threw away because somebody else has got it. Are you kidding me?
That's right. That's
I mean,
right.
talk to me. Let's go, Dave. The world is a funny place, and perception, how people perceive things, is so funny. Now he takes that item away from Ron to get his little power struggle in there. Oh, I think I'll call the police. I've lost an army jacket. What? I threw the army jacket away. I never wanted it until somebody else had
And he
it.
probably hasn't worn it for 60 years. So
It
what's-
was his dad's.
Yeah, it
you
was-
know,
it was just-
It's a goofy world.
You cannot put a price on sentimentality. You know, you can put a price on the item, but I have nothing attached to it because I didn't grow up with it. I don't have any people for it. But, you know, it's tough. And you try and make it as easy for them as possible. Otherwise, you're dealing with tears, and you're dealing with memories, and you're dealing with sometimes anger. You know, it just goes across the board.
Tracy's going to give you a few words, and then I'm going to watch the floor.
You're gonna watch the floor. Stevie, what's going on? First, let's talk about this camera. I'm Tracy Luther, proud owner of Luther Auctions, Inc., North St. Paul, Minnesota, the finest small city in the world. As a kid, I loved junk. Digging in dumpsters, pulled stuff out, and found some diamond rings, and the rest was history. Figured out that you can make money on junk.
And what's your favorite part of the business? Why do you do it? What do you like about it?
Cashing the checks. You can print that one too. Well, I like the stuff. I mean, you can't do any business without liking the merchandise. I like antiques, and I like the stuff, and I like the fact that you can make money off of stuff. And that's why your dad's in it. That's why I'm in it, because you like the stuff. You got to remember, I'm in the want business, not the need business. So there's nothing we do here that's going to change anybody's life, and that's important to remember. I mean, nobody needs any of this stuff. It's just the human nature to collect and buy stuff, and nobody needs you. They don't need. You can only eat so many meals a day. You can only sleep in one bed at a time, and I'm not selling any of that. I'm just selling stuff. I sell people are dead. I sell their stuff. Once they're gone, it means nothing.
So here's the sludge that I'm getting ready to sell next week. Got a little sombrero. I really had a small head. Maybe put it on that way, but it's still small. A couple of Red Wing Crocs. We've seen this camera over at Ruthie's sale. That's going. This is my shop here. A place for everything and everything in its place. Everything is neat and organized. It's kind of a swamp down here, so I got to run a couple of dehumidifiers. So I work on stuff down here, clean it, sort it, make it look pretty, break it. The rent is cheap. The landlord's nice. The conditions are pretty good unless it rains. If it rains, you got to come down here and make sure it ain't flooding.
Your voice a little sore?
My voice is a little sore. Got a little sore throat. Not good, because Monday night we got a yak.
35 and 40 either one of you. 40 in the front row, say 5. Say 5, say 50 each. And 60. And 60. 60. 80 is a group of postcards in 2 boxes, so much for the lot. 50 for this lot, 60, 50, 60, 60, 70, 80. You want it in the back at 80? Yep. 80, thank you, Paul, and 90. Did you say 90 in the back? 80, 90, not here to sell anybody out. Sold 80, 57. You're done, I'm done. Be prepared to bid on these items. 90, 100, 10, 20, 130, 140. Sold 130.
You know it?
The best way to get the full value has been for hundreds of years again is to sell it at auction. That's why Sotheby's and Christie's sell $10 million paintings at auction. They don't put a price tag on it, they sell it at auction. It's because you get that dynamic of sitting in the chairs and that competition. Why do you want to let 100 or 200 or 500 strangers come through your house after your grandma dies to pick through her underwear drawer? Why? What is important about that? There's this Midwestern sense that they're getting full value in the last dollar out of everything. And we're a conservative bunch in the Midwest, especially in Minneapolis, St. Paul, and they think that, you know, I put $10 on, I'm going to get $10 for it, where the auction is a risk.
$30 here for everything, and now 35. I got 30 minutes. 35 there, now 40. The last row was 35, but you need $40. 40 here, Kevin's way. 45. 40, 45 in the last row, now 50. 50 in the front row, now $60. 50 front row for everything, and $60. 60 and now $70. 60, bit of 70, bit of 70, bit of 70. Cheap at 60 and 70. Sold $60.
105. It's really hard to be the middleman nowadays because everybody's got the information on the computer, which isn't entirely bad. I mean, the blacksmith went out of business, the Iceman went out of business. There's no reason that the middle broker antique dealer should go out of business, but I think it's headed that way. Knowledge is king. Ask Albert Einstein if he was around. He said knowledge was king.
5-inch. Little tiny booger on the bottom. It should ring.
Should ring. Now thump it. Sounds correct.
Sounds correct. They used to be $400 or $500. I think now they're probably $275, $3 1/4.
Yeah.
I think that's the neighborhood you're in right now. But for $35, it's funny how she lets one slip through there, huh?
You know, and if she had a bigger bowl, it'd be 55.
Oh, if she had a bigger one, she'd put 75 on it. I think I lost my ski buyer.
Well, yeah, Russ did mention that you had a guy that was going to be a little more picky.
Well, now I called him and I'm going to try and run a load out to Colorado next week, and I think he said bring no skis, and that's the meat of my product.
Wow.
Yeah, and so I got
none, huh?
Bring no skis. I mean, the recession's hit out there too.
It's hit all over, I think, now.
What direction do you see the business going in the next 10 years, Ron?
It's just on its way down. It's going down.
How about the next 10 months?
You know what? I see a difference in 1 year.
Wow.
It's not as good last year or this year as it was last year, and I don't think by a little bit either. So, you know, it's hard to find the best stuff. People aren't interested in this stuff as much as they used to be.
No.
The kids nowadays aren't collecting.
No, they don't want it. No.
People in their 20s and 30s simply don't want it.
No.
And people that are middle-aged and older, they've read a lot of books that say simplify your life, organize your life.
Right.
You know, it's not what is in demand.
Just the breadth of merchandise, I think, in this country has narrowed. Yeah, it's really changed. 15, 20 years ago, it was about collecting. People came out and they had a collection of something. So it was more about fine antiques, and today it's become more about decorating.
Well, in my early days when I lived in New Ulm, lived in Hutch and started going to auctions, and then started picking up things that I saw that I thought were really cheap. So by the time we moved to New Ulm, I opened a shop in the house. It seems like lately people aren't collecting as much as they're decorating. You know, the younger people don't collect grandma's cut glass or the Limoges or whatever, and it's an issue for those that are looking to sell their collections. This is how I make my living, so I really need to I'm not in love with my merchandise, so I try to buy it at a fair price that I can mark it up and sell it at a fair price.
I think my generation never would have bought that stuff. I think, you know, they're not even taking their parents' old dishes anymore. My generation doesn't care about all that. We're not interested in buying a house right out of college. We're not interested in settling down and having a big family and having big get-togethers with immediate family on special dishes. We're more interested in having a tiny house. You know, that's a trend right now, or traveling for years and years. So if we do go out and buy something, it's got to be that really special thing that you just love.
Well, I think the antique business changed about 2007, 2008, when the whole world kind of went to financial hell, and people lost jobs and they didn't have any money to buy what really is some kind of junk in most people's head.
We have really become a disposable world. It's not as I'm going to own this for the rest of my life. It's I'm going to own it for a few years and then maybe buy something different. It's kind of how I see it, how it's moved. You see the shows on TV and they say, well, you have to haggle with them. Well, they set their price. And 90% of the people, or 80% of the people This is what they do to make their little bit of money so they can survive. A lot of these people, I'll be honest, they count on this to eat.